This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, now we can hear it. Yeah. We heard that, but we can't hear
Like to call us to order, and we will have approval of the minutes. And so I'd like to have somebody make a motion to approve the minutes. Been moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. We're going to do a brief report by each of the
cutting in and out again.
library committee members who represent the various branches around the county. We have 12 people. I'll start out with Bonanza. Is Christine here?
Yes. Yes. In Bonanza, the library is getting a new greenhouse, which is quite a thing for us. So it's yet to be constructed, but the greenhouse will be for papers to use, and we'll be able to have it constructed early enough that people can start growing things in the greenhouse.
Okay.
Things are moving along slowly but nicely. Deborah's getting ready for the planting of the garden, having a plant at the end of May. The Friends of the Library are providing some funding for plants and soil and stuff that she needs. So that's fine.
Okay. For Klamath, Cindy DeRosa.
Well, currently the staff are getting prepared for their summer reading program. And if you see all of them with books, know that we're having new carpeting put in. And it, to me, when you think about your household having new carpeting and the library having new carpeting, you can respect what they are doing. And every single book, I'll swear, because I'm a mystery reader, is back when they finish that part.
So it's been validated. Okay, and who is
Friends of the Library.
Friends of the Library.
I had to give a report, but I'm trying to. We're finishing up for the fiscal year, and we're going to be working. I'm going to be working with the treasurer on our budget for next fiscal year, and we voted to continue with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library for the coming year, and so we're very happy about that. We have the funds for that, and polish up on our policy document. And and also we're going to be contributing some scholarship money to the Klamath Promise, as we feel that it's part of our mission in terms of dealing with early literacy and promoting education and completion of high school and going on to college in the community. So I think that's about all I can remember at this point, but we're doing fine. The bookie joint, it's been a little slow with the construction out there, and then we have a sale of a 25-cent book sale on nonfiction. So usually we charge $1 for that, but we're kind of a little low on our fund generation with bookie joint, but I'm sure that we'll pick up, as time goes by. And yeah, so that's Friends of the Library. We're just clicking along.
Thank you. And I need to ask the librarian if she can tell us how many Dolly Parton graduates there are in the program.
So the Dolly Parton Imagination Library is funded by the Friends of the Library, and I help by making sure everybody is registered online. And as yesterday, we had 1,713 children registered for that free program. Yay!
That still makes my hair in the back.
Could I ask Judith a question? Are you guys going to do outreach at the farmer's market again this year?
We're not gonna do the farmer's market this
To
year.
work out.
Because what we found is that most of the people that we spoke with, we did a lot last year.
Right.
And we talked to a lot of people.
Right.
And what we learned that the kids love it.
Right.
The kids love getting a mail very much. And the parents love it. But most of the people that seem to go to the farmer's market already knew it, the kids enrolled. So we're kind of leaving it open to see if there's some kind of special program that we might want to go to. But the library here, with their all the work they do with moms and kids and their baby shower event,
Right.
they do, and also the branches as well, do a very good job of getting the word out about Dolly Parton. So we're from the farmer's market.
Right. And it's not like we need to recruit numbers to keep
Yeah,
the
we're
program.
kind of at a good number.
Right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. Renee here today. She online?
Yeah. I don't know if she wants to. Yes, her name.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My sound keeps cutting out, so I am not always sure what I'm hearing. I'm an at-large member. So since May 9th's emergency advisory boards meeting, several people I have seen brought up in conversation how they felt about the commissioner library board stoppage of some of the moderated library programs. They consider the moderating of and discussion of books to not be a political activity. In the conversation, some of the words they used were dismayed, scary, angry, and disappointed. And they asked me to convey these sentiments, so I am. And thank you, that's all I have right now.
Okay. How about Klamath, you know?
Still doing story times on Thursdays at 11 a.m. And the Tween Book Club, which is going great, is on the first and third Saturdays at 11:30. And they're going to show a movie on the last Saturday of the month. She doesn't know what it's going to be yet. They're getting ready for summer reading program and trying to decide what color each month will be during the summer reading program. They do a color of the month, and all the book titles that fit that color are displayed. That's it.
And let's talk about Malin.
Is Katie with us?
I did not hear any updates from Krista other than our community garden space is growing well, and that she's continuing her after school activity and craft and story times.
All right, and Meryl?
Okay. Krista said that parents are using the STEM kits. They're not getting checked out a lot. They're coming to the library to use them. She thinks they're afraid to take them home and lose parts, but they're getting a lot of use with those science and technology kits, and the kids are loving them. She feels program attendance is increased. Same with Katie in Merrill with the after school and those programs. She has a person who's coming in Monday, Wednesday, Friday to tutor a boy using the library equipment, and particularly using a lot of the Rotary Grant educational things to help teach this little boy. And those games and stuff continue to be very popular. The interest in the summer reading program is high. She's had a number of calls already about people getting excited to get it started. And the planting in Merrill is going well as well as Malin, although Malin usually beats us. They usually get a better garden than we do.
All right.
Sprague River, yeah. It's going well out at Sprague River. Patronage is still about the same as last month and the month before. 1 or 2 kids are showing up for crafts, which she still runs all day. If a kid shows up, they do crafts. The summer reading program excitement is very high. Parents and kids alike, it was so high they had to print more schedules. Sprague River on July 15th is celebrating its centennial. And so I was thinking about maybe trying to do something for that, but focus is more on the outside than the inside. But that's all I got.
Okay, we have.
Oh, one more thing. These are being put in the video cases, and oh my God, the patrons love this, because I've used the DVDs, and a lot of times you get a DVD and it's scratched or it won't play or it skips, and I just returned it and it just keeps recirculating broken. So now with these slips, patrons can put that in the video and it'll get some attention.
Okay. Now the last one we have is Chemult Gilchrist area, and it's a vacancy. And when we stop coming through, when we come through and stop in Chemult for gas, well, I talked to the service station guy, and there's a little red schoolhouse over in the back lot, and that's our library. And I asked him, do you guys ever use it? He said, oh yeah, we use it all the time. And we take our kids over there and they check things out and they run it. It's a vacant place. It's very small, but it's used, and that's the farthest out one we've got at this point. We have one more thing to deal with here, and that is that several of us our time on the board is expiring, and we have to apply for renewal. And how many of us are there?
5.
5. And all are going.
So far, Cindy is the only one who submitted a renewal. So, and then we have a person from the community who submitted an application as well.
Where in the community are they from?
In Klamath Falls.
Oh, they don't want to be the Sprague River.
I haven't had anybody from Sprague River. So, but you can ask if any.
Does anybody want to be the Sprague River representative?
Yes.
Attached to that list that we were sent, was there a form or something we needed?
There was a link. So every advisory board in the county, you have to submit an application online, and I attached the link to the website for the Klamath County. We do not receive paper application. Everybody can apply, as to apply online.
So if my term was up, I would have gotten one of those emails.
I will remind you, your term is up. Do you want to reapply?
Oh,
And then
Okay.
and then we do it. So you had something to add?
Natalie, are your terms, are they 4-year terms?
4 years, yes.
Because just so everyone's aware,
Yeah.
the board, I don't know, several years ago, started, well, I don't think they started, but maybe it just, they were doing a better job of after the 2 terms. Generally, they don't, you have to get sort of an exception to policy to go beyond 2 terms. So I don't know who's at that point.
Most everybody's at that point. Like Spider has been trying to find somebody to replace him. And we have a hard time finding somebody to replace Spider. And
so maybe you'd get an exception to policy.
Yeah.
And partly it's because I'm irreplaceable.
And it's, you know, we just ask everybody, and usually and Gail,
I got an exception last time.
yeah, you got an exception as well. And usually the board member are trying to find their replacement.
Well, there's a lot of people in the room.
Yeah, so if you want to apply for, yes.
Oh, when you go look online, the only one that posts as an opening is the Schmaltz.
Yeah, but you can still apply.
Okay. So
Even if there's no
it
opening.
doesn't say there's vacancies, but there is.
Yeah, even if there's no opening, you can apply because there's no opening right now, but it will be in June. So,
just checking. So if someone was to apply, do they need to live in that area where the library branch?
it's preferable because they will have to visit. For example, Spider, he lives in the Sprague River area, so he visits the library there.
But it's not like going for a district within the county. So in other words, if I was willing to travel to Merrill regularly, which I wouldn't want to take, this is spot, but you know what I mean, like, then it would be something that you would enjoy.
Yeah, the idea behind having library advisory board all over the county is that they know the community and they can tell the board what they think the community wants. And they're kind of the liaison between the library and the diverse community around the county. That's why we had so many of them. And I thank you every time because they're doing a good job reminding me, oh, by the way, you know, we did this at this library. Sometimes the staff don't always ask for what they need. So it's nice for them to have a liaison between their branch and the main library.
So can I get the extension to serve longer?
I will put in, we can put in an exception to policy request.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you.
Yeah.
You will have to apply for an exception as well.
I need to apply for an exception. Whether I'll make the 4 years or not is a serious question. Being 97 at this point.
Wow.
You never know.
Long live the king.
I was a year older than the Queen when she died. Gives you a historical reference. Okay, we now have the director's report.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen with the people online, so just bear with me just a minute. I have to do a little thing here. All right, so every month I send a report, and in my report to the Library Advisory Board and also to the Library Board of Directors, who are the commissioners. We let them know what's happening in the library. And I always include statistics. So comparing our circulation at the main library. What's interesting is, 2020 was COVID and attendance was all the way down. Mm-hmm. And every year since then, the attendance for the main libraries is going up and up. So this is just for the month of April. And so in April of 2023, we had 12,954 people coming through the door of the main library. Mm-hmm. And This is the circulation. The red is circulation of this digital material. Blue is circulation of children's material. And the light orange is circulation of adult material. So we do circulate a lot of material. It's a little bit lower than last year because, as Cindy was mentioning, we are in the middle of a carpet remodel, and we removed all the books so people could not browse, so they could not check out as many as we used to see. And they're being put back on the shelf, and everybody's being cleaned. All the shelves are being dusted, and the books are being inventory. And so we will have a clear picture of what we have in our library today.
Have you noticed patronage down because of the construction?
Not yet, because I haven't run the statistics for May.
Oh, okay.
I only run the stats for
Because it seems like it's been going on a while.
Yes. And then I also run the statistic for the branches. And all the branches always follow the same kind of pattern in their circulation. Chemolt is always at the bottom because it's a very, very small library and a very, very small community, but we do still check out material there. And then I run a statistic for the whole collection. We have a lot of collection, honor collection, digital collection, and you can see the numbers right there. And then we talk about what's going on here in youth services, what kind of programs we're having, and you can find all of that on the library website. And we also have a highlight of what's going on in the branches, and usually the library board, advisory board members know what's going on as well. So, and then at the end, I just speak about what's going on here as far as the staff. So all our open positions have been filled. We have some openings that have all been filled. And this Friday, we have a full staff in service. So all libraries will be closed for a training day. And talking about the library program policy, and talking about the projects going on in the main library. So the carpet project is complete. We just have to put everything back. We just remodeled the janitor's closet. It's completed. And then I got a grant to add an HVAC system at the Sprague River Library. And the grant was approved. The IGA was signed. I'm just waiting for the fund to be transferred before I can purchase that. And Dolly Parton Imagination Library, as I mentioned, we had 1,713 children who are actively registered. And since we started in 2018, 1,843 kids graduated. That means they reached the age of 5. So that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of books. Yes.
When we took on the Dolly Parton Foundation Imagination Library, our goal was to get 1,300 kids in Klamath Falls involved in the program. So you can see by those numbers how successful that program is. We'll have to wait to see long-term whether it really has an impact on early literacy or not, but I think it does.
All right, that's my report for today.
All right. So now we have the library program policy, and there's a letter to the library board of directors, and then we'll have public comments. I'll read the draft letter to the district directors. It's a very rough draft. As of 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, we have some more cleaning up to do with the editing. County Council advised in a May DOCC meeting all pertinent information regarding constraints on campaigning by public employees on duty and on government property. It is one of the standby that protect our American voting system and is protected to the limit of her scope of authority by our county clerk. We all agree that the federal and Oregon statutes are essential to our form of governance and practice in the public square. It is and has always been the result of the rule of Klamath Library service facilities and programs. We understand that public employees may not engage in political advocacy under Oregon Revised Statutes 260.432 while on the job or when acting in their official capacity. Political advocacy is an act of supporting a change or creation of an issue on local, state, and federal level. When participating in political advocacy, people voice their opinions through emails, letters, calls, and social media posts to their elected officials. Library employees are not engaging in political advocacy when they host or moderate library programs. In fact, should employees engage in political advocacy, their employment is at risk. Volunteers will not have the same motivation to avoid political advocacy where they
Yeah.
And all of us and all of our library effort is based on the U.S. Constitution, Amendment 1, which reads, Congress shall make no law restricting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Close quote. As a people, we have always resisted censorship. American Library's primary purpose is to enable people to explore and to discuss freely. The common rule is that if you don't like a book or program, you are free to not participate and not to try to control the ones with whom you disagree. That was the message that those attending our most recent special meeting on May 9th was. The presence of the book precipitating this issue is the test community tolerance in the face of challenge. As it turned out, only one person was interested enough to attend the Social Justice Book Club in April when the book was featured. Since this came up, I obtained a copy of the book and looked through No More Police and found the book to be of general relevance nationally, but to infer that it was an accurate picture locally is mistaken. This is based on my many years of serving on the local public safety coordinating committee as a lay member and recognizing the operational constraints of funding by committed members in all parts of the legal justice system. There just isn't the money to meet all of the demands that are there. And we don't have this available at this point, I think, but please find attached the bylaws of the Klamath County Library Advisory Committee, a comprehensive list of responsibilities to both the library personnel and the system and to the library directors. Various members Advisory Committee have transcribed the comments made by some of those participating in the conversation in order to preserve the meeting contents for any who have not accessed the video record or who do not have it to hand during discussion. As a result of this due diligence, we recommend that the directors watch the recorded meeting to more fully appreciate the broad interest and commitment of those who use their library system, including all of the branches as represented by both advisory committee members and patrons. Both the library director and assistant director have masters in library science. Library staff have yearly training and participate in the Oregon Library Association conferences and workshops. The staff are trained in hosting and moderating library programs. The Klamath County Advisory Committee makes the following recommendations. Number one, the library board of directors should follow the library policy and redirect the public toward the request of reconsideration of a library resource for any comments regarding library materials, displays, and programs. Library staff should be involved in developing, organizing, and marketing programs that are aligned with the Klamath County Library Service District mission, vision, and organizational philosophy guidelines. We would like to share the following from the American Library Association. Programs should not be canceled because of the ideas or topics of the program or the views expressed by the participants or speakers, nor should library workers censor or remove displays because someone may disagree with the content. Library sponsorship of a program does not constitute an endorsement of the program content or the views expressed by the participants or speakers, any more than purchase of resource for library collection or curation of a display constitute an endorsement of the resource's content or the creator's views. Libraries should vigorously defend the First Amendment right of speakers and participants to express themselves. And this is an extraction from the library initiated programs and displays as a resource, an interpretation of the Library Bill of Rights, adopted them several times over the years. The Board of County Commissioners, viewing educational discussion as political activity, will gut the library programs and will negatively impact the community and our schools. Respectfully, Chuck Wells, Klamath County Library Advisory Committee. I want to say that you can see from today's efforts reports that we are intimately involved in the schools and the children in education. We've been available during the pandemic in a way that schools were not, and we are continuing to do this. So we are intimately involved with our public education. Thank you. Now, did we get a sign up of people who wanted to speak, or are we going to just treat that ad hoc? Does anybody wish to make any comment? Yes, Mike.
Should I do it on the floor?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm David, Klamath County Library Advisory Board, dear board members. My name is Mike Fitzgerald from Klamath Falls. Dear board members, I do not want a library on a stick, a static model frozen in time of ignorance and intellectual stagnation. The free exchange of ideas is the bedrock of democracy through the evolution of society and culture engendered by public discourse. The role of government is to maintain a safe space where the discourse can occur. It is not the role of government to censor such discourse.
Chuck Edson, I'm proud to and happy to announce I'm part of a small group working to try to address community concerns. I wanted to demote Mr. Wells from King to Chief Justice, so it's I know that the central point of this conversation is censorship. I'd like to step back a little bit and look foundationally or outside the box or something. And 2 issues of role of government and political polarization. My opinion is that our local governments are trying to avoid controversial political issues, and who can blame them? You look at what's going on nationally, at the state level, or a school board coming here to you, who knows? I mean, issues like this, and it's a mess. And the group I'm working with, they're tentatively calling it Klamath Together. I threw together some business cards back there with my name and contact information. I'm working with and for Todd Keppel, who many of you know, another county director. He may be on Big Brother there, I don't know. And another person, Jeanette Rutherford, many of you know, a counselor and mediator I've known for over 20 years and respect greatly. And a new fellow in town named Peter Olson, who works a program up at Roosevelt School. We're just started. Have been meeting for about 4 months, but agreed to work on creating a private nonprofit to try to form a board of directors. We're looking for people to come on board, but I mean, an advisory board rather, that would be made up of people hopefully of influence in the community, representing the breadth of our community and the various interests as reasonably as possible, who would be in touch with the community and bring issues to the group. And Peter and I in April attended 2 days of virtual training with a national organization called Essential Partners. And Peter and I were both really enthused. It's an approach for bringing people together, kind of working with participants and kind of bringing them on board. And
Chuck.
I'm sorry.
Commenting on the letter.
I'm sorry. Anyway, and to address some of the other issue is I'm leading up to or dealing with is political polarization. I guess I mentioned that. Anyway, political polarization, sorry, I was distracted. But working with the groups involved to set up and organize conversations to try to understand each other, and maybe that way to help government how to go about dealing with problems civilly. And yeah, that's basically it. We tentatively called ourselves, like I said, Klamath Together. We're looking for help. I threw together some provisional business cards that I've managed to print up. My name and contact information is back there. The other 3 people are all working. I'm nearly as retired as Mr. Wells here. And have been working at this for over a year. And I fully appreciate the kinds of conflicts that politicians are in trying to reach. You can't represent a population that's completely divided. And I want to acknowledge our librarian, Natalie, for her representing her position to authority. I think that was commendable. Thank you. Please contact me at your convenience.
Who want to speak?
These are people who signed up. Should I announce? Or do you want to?
Gene Rogers, right here.
Comments?
Yes.
I need to get back to something I'm doing dutifully in my retirement. My primary comment is I completely support the library. I completely was appalled when I read the newspaper article. Not that I've never been appalled by any article in this newspaper before. I particularly was appalled by the one person being quoted. And I don't want my teeth sunk into anything, let alone anything this individual has written or said online. I really believe in serving I'm a director for Fire District 1. I'm up for re-election. Unchallenged, which I find very interesting. Support your communities, support the library, and by all means, if you have not flooded Hensley and Derek's, the group's email, it's online. You can go to the county website, tell them what you think, because they're in a vacuum. I've been dealing with county commissioners here for 42 years, and it doesn't matter who's been in office, in whatever form. I brought serious public safety things to their agenda, to their desk, and they go, I've never heard of that. And I've been having that experience for 42 years, and I'm having it again with this group. So by all means, let them know what you think. If you don't, then don't squawk. Thank you.
Okay, Donna Schummerbach.
She had to leave, but I feel my name was before her.
Nancy. Nancy Rogers?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Nancy. Yeah.
No problem. I'm Nancy Rogers. I taught at KU. A lot of people don't realize because I taught math. My master's degree is in library science. And I worked as the assistant librarian at KU for 9 years. I applaud your work. There's nothing better than getting people connected and having discussions. It's the keystone of our democracy. And having somebody say you can't discuss something is nothing less than bullying and trying to use power to keep people that want to do something from doing it. Your letter is a masterpiece. Thank you very much. I was worried when I came, and I really feel you guys have hit it. And what my husband said, the squeaky wheel, gets noticed. Please go out, make sure you email these people, Derek and Dave, and let them know how you feel. That will get their attention. Thank you. That's all I think. There's a couple of seats up here that are ready for everybody to speak. Thank you.
Jeanette Rutherford.
Library lover. Come to the front, I can't see you.
Okay. I've been in Klamath Falls for 24 years. My son was 1 when he moved here. And we raised our kids through the library system. The library system we have in the United States is unique in the world. My daughter did her senior pictures in the stacks. She would get 13 books at a time, bring them back. And Christy was kind enough, I think it was Christy at the time, to let her do senior pictures here. I think that I appreciate Kelly being here, and that to say we can't have political discussions, what's political? Right? What I feel like is political might not be political to anybody else. So I think for me, that becomes a dilemma. That does that mean we could never talk about climate in the library? Right. Or, and you name it, right? Solar heating, whatever. Anything can be political to somebody. So I just appreciate this board. And hope that the commissioners, in addition to Kelly, will listen to what the right thing is. I feel like the proper reading of the law is that moderators are not politicizing. So just love our library. Don't mess with the library.
So you're maybe number 6. Ask you to sign your name and then give your comments.
Can I fill this in later?
Yep, you can. You can stand up and do it after you.
Okay.
My name is Wendy Williams, and I moved here about.
And can you make sure, I'm sorry, can you make sure you face the owl? You see the thing is an owl, so that people online can hear you. That's a speaker.
Oh, thank you, the owl. Okay.
Talk to the owl.
Thank you. Okay, I'll speak loudly. My name is Wendy Patrice Williams, and I moved here about 3 years ago and live up on off 97. And I taught community college in California for 25 years. And so I'm very much involved in books and teaching people and talking about moderating all kinds of discussions in my classroom where I can't be the political figure, right? Because I'm hired by the state, right? Okay, so I've been talking to Dave Hensley, and we've been going back and forth, and and I've been talking to him about this, and I said to him, don't you think that perhaps if it was a different book, you might have had a different response? I mean, no more police. And I said, perhaps it was just a personal reaction because you've invested so much time in your profession beautifully. And he was like, no, even after that. And then I talked to him again about the moderator issue, et cetera, all the things that we've been talking about. And basically what he said was, I'm entrenched in this position. This was yesterday. I'm entrenched in this position. I can't get past it. And that's my view. And if you want to talk to me, you come to my office. And he wasn't mean. I mean, if you want to talk to me, please make an appointment with somebody to then speak with him in his office. And I feel, increasingly frustrated with this position. And I just want everybody to know that that's what we're dealing with, that he is entrenched and where do we go from here? And thank you very much.
You wanted to speak?
I just got my name down. That's why I'll put it in later.
You can fill it out afterwards. Okay. Speak nice and loud or maybe step forward so that the mic can capture you. I'm Carly Gilder. I'm on my lunch hour. But I wanted to state I represented the Klamath County Foundation for 10 years as the treasurer. And the idea of the discussion needs to happen. I'm concerned with when the county doesn't pay for all of the building projects or the maintenance projects that occur here at all the different locations, that we might not be able to ask for our grant people to help fund this. Because that's what the foundation does. They speak out when we don't have enough money to say, do an HVAC system or a roof or carpet projects, or they have to go to grantors like the Oregon Community Foundation. They have to go to the Ford Family Foundation. And when we are now limiting what can be taken place at the library, when those foundations are looking at DEI,
what does that mean?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. If we are not, and I know that Klamath has a hard time sometimes with words, but we do the acts, right? We do them. But we're limiting on how we can fund through the foundation, asking for those extra money. So when the roof starts falling off and we don't have tax dollars coming in because we don't have enough reserves, that's when the foundation takes that place. And I know it's kind of a silent party, but it's like this group. And I'm just concerned about that kind of funding in the long run. Because I know dollars and cents kind of drive some initiatives, and I don't want to have that limit the ability of our library.
Thank you for pointing that out, because Friends of the Library applies for grants and supports the library programs, and that would be something that I would look into as a concern. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Alexander is returned.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, my name is Alexander Zadejas. Sorry I couldn't be there today. I have work, so I'm there right now. I was at the last advisory meeting, and I quoted the gentleman that started this whole thing, just like the Herald and News article did. I did that because I wanted to show that his motives are politically motivated, and like he isn't just a concerned citizen. He does have a agenda, And so I'm glad the Herald and News also quoted him for the same reason. And I also looked at his Facebook recently. He posted a video of him at the city council meeting, proudly talking about the jet in the park. And at that meeting, he was referencing people there who were talking about the board of commissioners banning this club and that were against it. And he referenced them as these defund the police people, all these people that protest, these Jane Fonda people, and these people who drink Bud Light. I quote him again here because I'm just showing that like this is someone who's like, you know, super entrenched in the culture war and all these things, and he's like actually making change in this community. So I think if everyone here like wants to see change and we can't get it, then there's a problem. And if this one person can do it. So that's all I got to say.
Say your name and speak at that. Might see me here.
Yeah. Okay. Still see me? Okay. My name is Polly Ganong. I was born here in 1950. In my youth, I came to the library probably more than once a week. I love this library. So I am just so proud of everybody here. I'm really, really proud of everybody here. It's so good to see you all here. And I think Natalie Johnston is doing such a wonderful job as library director. I just thank you. And I'm sorry about the heat you have to take, Natalie. I'm really sorry. The other thing I want to say is Nancy Rogers, I believe, said, and her husband said, please write the commissioners. I haven't done that yet, and I am going to do that. And I think that's all I have to say. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I'll have them spill your name after you speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, perfect.
Say your name loud.
My name is Miranda Healy. Can you see me? If we don't see me, that's okay. But I'm part of a homeschool group, and I have a couple of ladies here, and we visit this library 3 times or more a week. We meet up here. And we were having a discussion with our children about this. And I realize this is about an adult book club, but there is a trickle-down effect that happens that affects to the bare bones of this. And it means, is OBOP gone because of this? Is this the discussion that we're having with our kids? Is, yes, one person can have a voice, but one person can also ruin it for a lot of people. We're here to discuss ideas and be okay with other people having their ideas, and having access to that is a non-judgment-free zone. And by making this decision, by one squeaky wheel, we are teaching kids that you can get things limited because a person has a view that's opposing to yours. So I just kind of wanted to represent us that use this so often that this affects not just our day-to-day lives, but the future generation. So that should be noted.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Patterson. I asked Natalie at the beginning of this meeting, is it okay if okay. My husband and I have been talking about the process of how the library goes about resisting and carrying on as they see fit if the commissioners, who are their funding source, basically, decide to use that as a reason to not fund them. We were having the discussion at dinner last night. My husband said, do you suppose the library has a lawyer? And I said, I'm sure they have a lawyer. That would, because they have to check things. So I asked them, I said, who is the lawyer? Or do you have a lawyer on retainer for the county library? And she said, yes, it's the county council, who is also the lawyer for the county. That seems a little convoluted. Yeah.
Hey, go ahead. Hi,
everyone. My name is Courtney Neubauer. I grew up here and moved back about 6 years ago. And one of the things, I submitted comments that I fully stand by, but one of the things I wanted to bring in here is something that I learned recently from a philosophy professor who was talking about tolerance. And she said that there's sometimes this bind to tolerance that people get put into, where they say, if you're so tolerant, why can't you tolerate my views? And those views often representing intolerance or hateful messaging. And she said that we can change our view and get ourselves right out of that bind when we view it not as a personal moral, but rather a social construct, that we tolerate views that are different than our own. And I think that what Dave Hensley and the commissioner's decision has shown is a lack of tolerance for ideas that are not their own. And I think that our library staff are also, I don't want to see things be placated without purpose, because I think that they're not thought through. Because one of the different avenues Commissioner Minty offered us was having the advisory board serve as moderators. And while I love our advisory board, I also know that every librarian in my life, from my sister-in-law to my friends who work at libraries across the country, is that they deal with an inordinate amount of public interactions that may be less than positive. I know librarians who've been yelled at, spit at, screamed out, just about anything in the book. And I think that our library staff, by having those years of experience with public interaction, serve our community best in this role. I think also one of the things that has come to my mind is the potential liability of moving a position that interacts with the public from a staff position to a position of volunteer. And I think that when it comes to being yelled at, not everyone has the same tolerance. And the fact that the library staff get the training they do and the experience they do allows them to be the best moderators we have in this county, I believe, for these type of discussions. And I think that their ability to navigate difficult or complicated situations, like having to kick someone out of the library for that breach of the contract of tolerance, also gives them a complete upper hand when it comes to policy, when it comes to understanding the building and procedures that no one else in our community will be able to rise to that level. And I think that if we have a volunteer moderator and they were to experience some level of hostility, and if that rose to aggression, then I believe that volunteer moderator would be completely in their right to sue the library, to sue the county. And I think that those things have not been thought through in any way, because now that they made this public statement and now that they're getting pushback, they're trying to find any avenue to make people happy. And that people is a person. And that person has just had his ego sort of hurt. And I think that's what we're actually dealing with. And I think that we have representatives. We don't have dictators who decide things for us. And I was completely appalled by Hensley's statement that it wouldn't matter if 100 people told him he was wrong, that he believed he was wrong. And I think that entrenchment that you said was continuing up until tomorrow shows that he's sort of lost his way as a representative. And I think that we need to, as a community, remind him that his role is not to represent his own interests, but that of the community. And so I'm so happy to see you all here and applaud the advisory council. And Chuck, that letter was incredible and a little bit more thoughtful and polite than sometimes I am. So I'm thankful for you being here.
Real fast, I'm Jean Knight, and I'm a retired composition, speech, literature, English teacher from KCC.
And I worked out my teaching career with ideas and exploring ideas and backing out Ms. Rogers, who actually taught my son ideas of math, and he's now a civil engineer making nice money. But I think the main point is that the commissioners and people are confused between political and partisan. And I think, and I have a major in anthropology and a concentration in political anthropology. And what Jeanette had said was about everything being political because it applies to group power, conflict, and so on. What we are not is partisan. For teachers, like Wendy was saying and Linda, we explore ideas, and the ideas are so essential for our democracy because we have to explore ideas, analyze, synthesize, evaluate, discuss, and then come to resolution. But without the ability to explore all ideas, we can't get into the active analysis of these ideas. So thank you, Library Board. I don't know what the next step would be with the commissioners saying, no, we can't do this anymore, but I'm sure that you will find one. So thank you.
I don't know who's up. You guys are coming up, and then you after her. Okay. Thank you.
So, hi, I'm Justin Bearer. I actually spoke at the last meeting. I don't want to repeat myself, but briefly, I live in Klamath Falls for 18 years. My daughter's a volunteer here at the library. I teach Oregon Tech. I teach composition and I used to teach with G9. So I appreciate what you had to say. And I think we all understand some of the problem with our commissioners. And Kelly, I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you speak our words to Dave and Derek and get them to read this white letter that the advisory board has written, because I know they have been reading the other library reports, and they really need to know what they're talking about. And aside from the fact that I believe in saving our libraries and all the values we're expressing here today, maybe the most salient point for the commissioners that you can bring back to them is that just as teachers at Oregon Tech, you know, we're also covered by ORS 260, right? The rule that says we're not allowed to engage in campaigning while in our government work, right? The library is not in violation of ORS 260. And if the commissioners decide we feel like they are, despite legal evidence to the contrary, maybe they could be concerned about the legal liability they're opening themselves up to.
I'll just add again here that in my perception, this group is partisan yourself. I mean, I don't know. I mean, are there conservatives here? But anyway,
sure, partisan in wanting to be able to read anything I'm pleased to read.
True. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm only saying that I'm not here to debate you guys. I'm just saying that I'll possibly Hensley's and the group's phones are ringing now from that other side saying whatever they're saying. There is no discourse between and across the aisles. That's all I'm saying. And I don't think you like it.
Well, they were invited.
True, they were invited.
We were waiting.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you're speaking for the second time, and we have other people.
Did you make your point you wanted to?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
My name is Kate Murphy. I just want to say that there are obviously two sides that people
are on. And I think we need to resolve this so that no one is shamed and that everybody is treated with dignity and they have a way to gracefully reconsider.
Chuck?
My name is Madeline Campbell, and I'd just like to say it's not the role of government to regulate what can be discussed in publicly funded space. That's it.
Hello, my name is Becky Donald. I am lifelong resident. I was born here. I'm a homeschool mom. Don't want to cry, try not to. No, it's always finger. So, there's so many ways this opens up and affects our community. The person that started all this has a lot of turmoil in my life right now. I did not know anything about this until I was sent it last night. I feel awful for this person. I really do. But if anyone chooses to maybe watch the last city council meeting, you will see exactly where this started. And it's very sad, but it affects so many of us. And I'm really sorry, Kelly, because you're here and you're getting the brat girl. I'm sorry. The other two commissioners have to realize that, yes, I understand that we are in a conservative, rural community. I understand this person's position and how it's laser focused. I understand Mr. Hensley's. But in the last 5 years, there have been many actions that have been allowed to happen that have scared the crap out of some of our newest that are coming to this community. My daughter was scared the entire time some of the rallies were going on. They were so loud, up and down, and I know that no one can do anything about it. I've lived here my entire life. I did not, even though I know where we are here, I did not realize the level of hate till I saw those guns on the street. It scared me to death. Yes. And my first thought was terrorism, and I never expected it. We're supposed to be safe here, right? Rural country, a rural county. So here's the deal. This one person is allowed to do all this. He will blast it all over social media. He will go to a council meeting and be excessively rude to people for no reason. But he won't show up for this. So what gives the Board of Commissioners the right to listen to that one person to snowball everything? I understand the man's personal turmoil. Personally, before any big judgment after this is made, my suggestion is for the entire Board of the Commissioners, even though you're not going to like it, read the book. Discuss it between the three of you. Don't do it on county time, but do it. Seriously, so that you know where that comes from. Was it that radical? Was it as radical as some of the other books that are out here that I wish with all of my heart were not here? But I refuse to ever take someone's option away. So I understand you're appeasing this person and other people called. There's a balance here. And the minute you allow this taken, it's going to get ugly. There's too many of us here that are angry. And there's too many people that can't come at noon on a Wednesday.
We have one more person on Zoom.
It's a comment that they wrote, and maybe Lois, you want to read it?
Yes. Sure. They'll have to get glasses. The commissioners are supposed to represent us in the community. We in the community have spoken out that we want to keep these library programs. David is not supposed to make decisions based on one or two people's thoughts or his own personal beliefs. I agree with everything in the library board's letter, and I applaud them for standing up for this illegal and incorrect attempt to shut down the library's right to host programs. And then it says the VLCC council meeting with the county council, Marcus Henderson, where the decision was made, is available on the VLCC YouTube, May 3rd, 2023. There are also agenda and minutes that can be accessed. Go to the government website and click on the date, and the links are there for general information.
Chuck? Can I just ask, what is the status of the Social Justice Book Club? What is the status of the book club?
So as a social justice book club the last session was going to be in May, and this has been canceled. We were not going to meet in the summer. So
it's canceled?
At this time, it is canceled, yes.
Will it start again?
I don't know.
In September.
Yeah, I was gonna say for people who weren't able to stay for the entire session last time, is that what sort of, we realized after getting to talk with the moderator of that book club, as well as ask some follow-up questions, is that the sole decision-making power when it comes to the library is in the hands of the county commissioners under our current statutes. And I'm not saying that those can't change in the future. And maybe this is the time for that change. But what our understanding is that the board of directors, what they say is policy, because they're the sole deciding factor. And what they said in their last meeting was no politics in the library, and have refused further clarification. So I think that's my understanding of where things stand.
Yeah, that's where I have to follow what I was asked. And Social Justice Book Club was deemed political at the last meeting with the commissioners and my staff. So we cannot have it at this point.
I have a question based on what she just said.
Can you stand up, Christina?
Stand up.
Stand up so we can hear you.
Can hear you. I project very well. Sitting or standing up. There was a lady in Braids last week that talked about if the decision that the county commissioners make is in violation of the law, the outcome would be different. Who will litigate that?
Are you asking me? I'm a library staff. I work for the Klamath County Commissioner. They're my bosses.
I understand that.
So I will not be able to do anything. The Library Advisory Board is a committee. They may be able to do something. It is not up to me.
Can I say that actually, when it comes right down to it, we serve, actually, theoretically, we're employees for the purpose of insurance.
Right.
So we actually serve under the same policy as paid employees in terms of political speech. That being said, the people who are actually the boss are not commissioners. It is the people of Klamath County, and I can say that as an advisory board member because that's the way we view you. We are serving you.
Chuck, I had one thing.
Yes.
The letter is great. What you did is great, writing this letter. I would just recommend that under our recommendations, the following recommendations, the library board of directors should follow the library policy and redirect the public towards the request for reconsideration of a library resource. I would add a sentence that says, we would invite the County Board of Commissioners to support this, because they're the ones who bypassed the policy that was already in place for complaints. And so, and now I'm not, condemning, I'm just saying it's an educational thing, an awareness thing of like that they are just as responsible for following the policies as we are, that we all follow the policy. And I think that what I keep hearing over and over again is this kind of joint communication or lack of communication between the County Board of Commissioners and the library board and the librarian. And so I would just like try to include them in the redirection of the public.
I had,
Hang on, just,
I don't want to walk on anybody.
yes, go ahead.
Okay, I have a question for Kelly. So what can we as a group do to change Commissioner Hensley's mind?
That is, I don't think, respectfully, I don't think that's a fair question of me. How would I know what would change another human's mind?
Well, I asked you.
That's
Well, I don't speak for him. I don't, we're each our own independent elected officials. And, clearly, I think the three of us have very different opinions on this issue, as those who have been following have seen. So I could not even
I didn't mean to
guess.
put you on the
Or,
spot.
well,
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
it's just, that would be like me asking you, how do you change Natalie's mind? Or, that's just not a fair. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you, Kelly.
So.
Is there anybody who has not yet spoken?
I'm Fabian Baker, and over the years, I have participated here at the listening group, great discussions, book to film, foreign film, the writing group, and I check out at least one book a week. And I just want to reassure Kelly and the commissioners that every moderator I've ever had here has been professionally trained. They have never told me what to think or how to think, just encouraged me to think.
Again, I'm Wendy Williams, and Kelly, I wrote you an email and giving you my views about this, and you basically said that and I'd like you to clarify this for everybody. You said that it's more about the perception that there's some kind of political activity going on and campaigning. It's not about the reality. So am I paraphrasing you?
I think so. I've responded to a lot of emails over the last few days, and so, or the last 2 weeks, so I can't remember exactly how it was. But I think what I was maybe trying to offer is I think some people have wanted to get into a debate, even maybe with me, of like, well, what do you think is political? What do you think? And I think what I was trying to say is it doesn't really matter what it really doesn't matter what I think. It's more about, I think that's what the other board members are arguing, that it's this perception of this book is political or this activity could be political. And I've just been trying to stay laser. I love book clubs. I read books and that is one of the first things I did with the person that I'm dating. Is we both read How to Be an Anti-Racist, and we spent our first few days talking about it. I mean, literally, that is true story. I love the concept of book club. What I have heard my colleagues say, at least in that first meeting, was the real concern was the legality of a public employee moderating it on taxpayer time. So I just stayed focused on that. All the rest of the conversation, I just can't really speak to because it's not my issue that I brought. It's been the other board members that I offered as what I thought might be a good alternative. But if the issue is really around a public employee paid on public time, what if we had a volunteer? I thought that was maybe a perhaps really cool way to be able to let the book club continue and still sort of serve everyone's needs. I'm not saying my answers are the right answers. I was just trying to come to some potential resolution. Thank you.
I'm Barbara Turk, and perception and truth, which do we want? I want truth. Perception is foggy.
My name is Chelsea. I'm a homeschool mom as well. I have a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old. So for context of this room, can I have you raise your hand if you're a parent or if you've raised a child in some way? So the majority of us can agree
that our goal as a parent or raising a child is to help them to be a contributing piece of society later on, right? Our point is so that when they hit the point that they can sit in a room like this, they have had the opportunity to learn how to respect each other, how to value what someone else has to say, and to be able to communicate well. We rely on resources that are provided in our library at multiple different levels. But one of them is the book clubs, and we talked about it before. It starts in one place and it's gonna trickle down. So we have to make the choice of where are we gonna stop at? Where are we gonna say, this is affecting us farther than what we're willing to give up? I hope that my kids don't believe the same things I do when they get to the point that they get to form their own opinions. My hope is that by bringing them to places like this and other things that happen in the community, they are given the opportunity to hear from other people with other experiences and be able to form their opinion of what politics look like, what religion looks like, how to treat and love other people. I want them to have the ability to value people, I already find that, to value people all the way around, and to be able to have a discussion. I mean, you guys sitting in this room, we are privileged to sit in this room and have this discussion. What you're about to do is to take that opportunity away from these kids, and you're not allowing them the places to learn this, because again, what are their classrooms allowed to learn? I'll tell you, we put ours in public school this year for a few months. It was ridiculous. She came right back home. I want my kids to have the opportunity to learn how to have a conversation, to value each other, to be able to sit and say, we're not okay with this because our constitutional rights are being questioned at this point. This is not just a small piece, like this is a trickle down effect that is becoming huge. And for the generation that's sitting in this room, you guys haven't had to fight for your rights the way that we are right now. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you about that. I'm asking that there's not enough, like our advisory board, there's not enough representation from different generations. And in the last 10 years alone, our world has changed so dramatically. We cannot expect to provide and teach our children to better the way that we all grew up learning and being able to do if we're not providing resources all the way across the board. I understand that there was a question brought up about, how do we change your mind? That's not my question. My question is, how do we go about this? Because obviously those that are sitting in this room, we want to see a change in what has been deliberately done. I feel like if you're voted as a representative, you have every obligation to do your due diligence when you make any sort of change, period. I expect when I vote you into whatever position you are, I'm putting my trust in you that you're gonna do your due diligence, you're gonna research things, you're gonna read the book beforehand. You're going to, truthfully, look at some Amazon reviews at the very least. Like, look at what people, and not just in our community, are talking about, but across the world, because there's things that are affecting globally that are gonna start affecting here if we can't open our minds a little and start to look around. So, this room says, hey, this is where we stand on it, and I'm not trying to attack you, and I'm not trying to bring, but how do we come alongside and say, okay, what do we need to do? Because this venue, we can all get here and get riled up and say, yes, we are here and we want to see change. But nothing's gonna happen if our commissioners are not here, and this is not the meeting for that to happen. So where, when, why, how, and what do we do to teach our next generation how to? Because I didn't know until last week that your positions are voted on, or are voted on and whatever based on an application process. And maybe that's just lacking on my part, but I never learned in the public school system how any of our public figures are put into place besides a national and a state level. And I feel like that's a really big missing opportunity for our kids. So what can we do as parents, those in the community, to promote for our children where do you want to step into in the future, but how do we at this point step alongside and help voice our opinions farther than this four walls?
Would you like me to share a thought on that, or, I don't want to,
yes,
this is not my.
Please go ahead.
You're asking about actionable next steps. I think this board, or this letter rather, from the advisory board is really important. This will get presented to the commissioners, and then, you are all empowered to continue advocating to the board, whether it's you make an appointment to meet them, you email them, you call them, keep having your voice heard.
So is there a way for us to do this as a community here? Like, we found that this meeting was happening today and we're all here at this point. Is there a time that you know this is gonna be brought up for discussion again, that we were able to join that meeting and be a part of it?
It is not currently on an agenda, an upcoming agenda. It will be at some point when this letter goes. And so we can make sure, this is a great solution. All our agendas are posted online. So I would go to the county website and you can sign up for news alerts. And then you can also review all the agendas. We have meetings on Tuesdays and Wednesdays every week. Tuesdays, we have a public, they're all public meetings, but we have what's called our business meeting at 1 o'clock. 3 o'clock on Tuesdays is our administrative meeting. And then on Wednesdays, 1 o'clock is our county council meeting. Now, many of you have seen one of those, sort of now infamous. And then at 3 o'clock is our work sessions. So those are the 4 meetings. My guess would be advisory board letter would probably land on either a work session or an administrative meeting. And again, those agendas are published. You can view them. They're usually published for the Tuesday and Wednesday meetings. Usually by Friday, like you should be able to see it, but I would check back Monday too. So you'll know when it's going to be in front of the board. All those meetings are public meetings. Now that does not always mean that the chair takes public comment in every meeting. The chair takes public comment in the Tuesday, 1 p.m. Meeting over in that building. Public comment is, the chair has limited public comment to 2 minutes, but that's every Tuesday at 1 o'clock is that. So I would review agendas to see when this particular item is on. You're welcome to always be in the room or always watch via YouTube. Public comment is that meeting on Tuesdays at 1 each week.
And being that this has already been canceled and we're looking at least the summer that it's not gonna happen again, is this a priority to make it to your agenda like right away? Or is this something we're gonna push out to the end of summer?
I believe when this letter comes to the board formally, it will get addressed.
Thank you.
Natalie, since it is a letter from the advisory board, I presume we will post when that goes to the meeting on the advisory board site as well, because it is part of advisory board action.
Yes,
Advisory
I
committee.
know, I don't know if all of you are aware that on the Lavery County website, there's a page on the bottom for the, Lavery Advisory Board. And we always put all the minutes on them. And when we have an emergency meeting, that's where we put it. So we will have a copy of the letter and when it is presented on the website, when it is formally presented to the board. So you just go to the Lavery website, at the bottom of the page, click on Lavery Advisory Board and you will have your information.
Do we need to sign that letter?
Not yet, it's still a draft. And it's still a draft.
Okay, but we don't need to sign it as well.
Not yet.
We will sign the one that we sent put forward.
Chuck, you have a hand.
Okay.
Yes.
Question based on what she brought up back there. Where does the back and forth take place in front of the county commissioners? Any? Is there such a forum that will take place there, ever?
If somebody comes to give public comment, that's not necessarily a back and forth. That's your space to give public comment. In terms of having like a direct interaction, again, you're welcome to meet with board members,
So no public back and forth ever?
Well, evening public. I mean, we don't have something scheduled. I would say like, if you have a particular board member that you want to meet with and have a back and forth with, do it. They're all accessible.
Well, I guess I feel it more efficient for the community to be able to observe the back and forth with citizens in the community.
So if somebody in the public were to find a large enough space to accommodate a back and forth conversation where they made a coffee meeting, as you referred to it last week, is there rules and regulations about where they can have this back and forth conversation between a commissioner and the public? Because
You have it here.
this is a great space, and we we obviously use it pretty much weekly at this point, but what the discussion is that we can't to have that conversation. So is there a place that you guys typically would take a meeting that's gonna be large enough to say 50-some people to have that back and forth?
I would say you could host a meeting somewhere and you could invite the board members. If there's, you know, I'm showing up because I want to be here. If there's other board members that you would like to be here, you're welcome to invite them.
But are they allowed to speak freely?
Yeah, they're elected officials. They can talk about whatever they want.
But he didn't last week. He scurried on up. So I just want to make sure that if we set up a time when we
You are
set up a
welcome
group
to
for
invite.
that.
I can't guarantee you any, I don't speak for either of them.
Right.
They're their own. I don't know if they would come. I don't know if they would welcome that. If you want to invite them, I think that's great.
So you know what your job duties say you can.
Yeah, if I was invited,
position, are you able?
if I was invited to come speak with a group, I would always show up. I don't think I've ever turned down an invitation if people have invited me to come have a conversation. I literally don't think I've ever turned down an invitation, except if it's, you know, scheduling things, but I don't think I've ever said like, I won't meet with you, ever.
Sally?
Well, I just wanted to ask Kelly, I called the government office and, because I wanted to find out when your meetings were, and she told me there were 4 kinds of meetings. And I thought one of them was if people wanted to put together a presentation and present it to the county
If you have
commissioners.
work sessions, that was probably what they were referring to.
That may be what it is. Is that a possibility that we?
That is a possibility. I am not the chair. And the chair is sort of empowered to, if there's requests on things being added to a work session agenda, the chair is empowered to make a decision on that. The chair is Commissioner Gifford.
So he could make a decision not to meet with a group that wanted to make a presentation.
Theoretically, but I don't want to suggest by saying that they would make that decision.
But would he have to give a reason that would he have to explain why he would not allow us
I
to speak?
feel a little uncomfortable that we're going down a path that's a little, I feel like then it's the suggestion that he's gonna say no. Ask him. If you want to be in a work session, then ask him.
This gentleman's been waiting a while.
My name's Ron Baker. I've lived around here forever also. I was a union guy at the county schools. And in my experience, the easiest way to get anything done that you want to get done is one-on-one. And, you know, if you want to sit down with Dave Hinkley and talk to him, make an appointment, talk to him one-on-one in a civil meeting. It's very intimidating for any person to come before a group and know that you're on the other side.
Yes.
And you're going to close up. So schedule a meeting, call him, schedule a meeting, give him your input and move on.
Just on that note, this is, we're preaching to the choir here, as we've referenced. And you guys literally jumped all over Chuck Edson when he dared to mention that people think differently. But they do. And if we want people who think differently from us to listen to us, we have to be prepared to listen to them. And that's what we're talking about with this Klamath Together, because
that's right.
That was harsh. And that's not going to get us anywhere. So I think we all need to think about that. We can believe what we believe, but we don't have to, if we don't listen to understand, we're not going to move forward.
Well, what was his point about this is a
point
part
was
of
there
it?
other
Can I finish?
things?
Can I finish? Wait a minute. You just interrupted me. You know, he comes up and says this is partisan group. Well, obviously, nobody said it wasn't. What's the point? I mean, so I couldn't understand what point he's trying to make, except that everyone was invited here, and of course there's another side. So his point?
The point was my point. The point is there's more than one side to any issue. And we didn't even let him finish his thought about that. So that's my point.
He spoke twice.
He spoke
Yeah,
Chuck,
Chuck,
And I spoke to him outside, and he didn't have anything different to say than what he said in here. Which I listened and I learned, you know, but everything that he said in here was the same he said out there. 70% of the county, according to him, is against this book that I now have to look at because bullies are going after a book, right? And it's been described as boring, so I'm not interested in it, but I have to look at it anyway. Because if it's a ban, if somebody wants to ban a book, I want to read that book or at least get through it. Because you can't discuss a subject that you haven't explored. And now that I'm speaking, if I may, every generation of my family, I get choked up, it makes it hard to talk. Every generation of my family that I'm aware of has served in the military. And we've done it to protect freedom of speech in the American experiment that is democracy, where people have access to every bit of information that is possible. You have to understand that the Declaration of Independence was written during the time of Gutenberg press and movable type, reconfiguring our society. The impact of the Gutenberg press was equivalent to the impact of the internet today. That's what caused us to go from aristocracy to capitalism. That's what happened. That's what caused us to go from aristocracy to democracy. And the great experiment that is democracy is, can people rule themselves? If they have access to all information, they can discuss all information, you can write and read all information. Can people rule themselves? Or do we need to have special individuals who inherit their positions and rule us instead? And every generation of my family that served in the military that has had the opportunity or the responsibility to fight for this country has fought against regimes that wanted to limit people's access to information every single time. And it's wrong. And the reason that we're able to stand here and talk now is because they've always failed. And it's our responsibility to maintain that they continue to fail. And it's a slippery slope. You let them in on one book, you let them in on one subject, fine. It seems minimal. You know, when they came to the gypsies, I didn't say anything. You know the speech. You know, when they came to this stupid, boring book about how police isn't organized properly, you know, somebody didn't say anything. And it creeps up and it creeps up. If it, you know, and also, if I may real quick on the subject of politics, you can bring somebody in that has a degree in political theory or whatever, but what they're going to tell you is any time that two living humans are interacting with each other, it's political.
That's right.
It's impossible for me to have a conversation with you without being political. Obviously, because you're a political member of the county. If I talk to any of your friends, we can draw the same tangential lines to me trying to influence your opinion by influencing your friends. If somebody has food and I don't have food, that's a political conversation.
Yeah.
Okay? Anytime that one person has an agenda, it's politics. If nobody has an agenda, it's still politics. It's just mentality. Okay? I'm amazed that this conversation is even happening.
Yeah.
But it's sweeping the country. It's a political strategy that's being used. It's been used in the past. It's been used in other countries. It's been used in this country before and it's failed. But it's being used in this country this time and it is succeeding in some places and spreading. And if good people who are interested in having access to information, having free exchange of ideas and so forth, don't stand up as you are now and struggle against others wanting to limit you. Don't squat when you're in chains. You know? And if this group, this book club needs a volunteer, I volunteer.
Do you also volunteer to be the spring
Spring
river?
river. Well played.
So the idea of politics, come on, there's a large amount of homeschool parents here that I did not realize were here, thank you, COVID. But I'm going to flat out tell you, you've got 6 of us that are friends, and every single one of us on a very different path politically. But I will tell you what, the minute this went up, holy
There was a lot. So the thing is even if all of us are going different political directions, you have an actual point of all these different people thinking different politically, saying the same thing. Do not take my First Amendment right away because it's going to go downhill. I know a lot of people don't think of the downhill part, but the downhill part, we're educated, and it's scary. That's why you have so many teachers here.
I think the conversation has gone to the point of where people are beginning to automatically terminate this meeting. So I'd like to thank everybody for their commentary and for the orientation and the honesty with which we talked. I'm reminded of my 7th grade teacher who said, if you have the ability to question, you have the right to question, and you have the obligation to question.
When do we meet again?
You will meet again when we get this final letter together to then send. We discuss the process and we'll follow that process.
Thank you.